widdz here, and in today's video we're gonna check out the rifles when it comes to the Division 2, because with title update 22 they did change a bunch of them, including some MMRs as well, to become full auto. So it's mainly the rifles and MMRs that are really fast rate of fire, and this of course changes a lot. So in today's video I'm gonna showcase two different rifle builds that are just amazing and super fun to play. And yeah, if somebody would come in and watch this without knowing it, they would probably think it's an AR, because the rate of fire on one of the builds here is just out of this world for being a rifle. But before I get into that, I just want to quickly let you guys know that you get 45% off with the code widdz on my protein today and also on Wednesday. So if you need to stock up on some protein, maybe some workout clothes or protein bars, then you can use code widdz for 45% off. Just click the link in the description and you can also see my recommendations. With that said though, let's check out the rifle builds. So we're gonna start with the build that I do like the most, and I also think most of you guys will enjoy this build. So the first rifle build is a 4-piece umbra build. So in case you don't know how umbra works, 2-piece gives you a critical hit chance, 3-piece reload speed, and then we have the 4-piece, which is you sit in cover and you will gain stacks. And this will give you critical hit damage and rate of fire. So as you can see here, charge it up. If you go out of the cover, you will get another stack. And the other stack is that when you go back into cover and sit in cover, you will armor regen up 0.8% armor when it's consuming the stacks. So in short, sit in cover, you get stacks for the damage, which is crit damage and rate of fire. So insanely fast rate of fire. You get low HP, you go back into cover and you will regen up HP, right? We can use damage yourself here. You sit in cover, and you can see you regen up armor. So extremely strong 4-piece. It is a tiny bit annoying to go back into cover to make sure that the damage stacks are full. But other than that, it's just simply amazing, giving you both rate of fire and critical hit damage. With this build, I think it's mandatory to use the chest piece, because the chest piece increases the stacks for the damage from 50 to 100, doubling our critical hit damage and rate of fire. So with the chest piece, we are looking at 120% critical hit damage and 40% rate of fire, which is just crazy. Since gear set and even rifles, you are gonna lack some crit chance, right? Because gear set, you only get one attribute. But since we're getting so much critical hit damage from the umbra 4-piece, we can still get a lot of critical hit damage for the build and do a lot of damage. Other than that, I choose to use a backpack with vigilance, so 25% amplified damage. Also the overlord backpack for 10% rifle damage. If you don't have that, you could maybe run a Siska for the 8% crit. And then of course it's a crit focus build, right, umbra, so get your critical hit chance to 60% and put the rest into critical hit damage. Sadly, I have not gotten a better overlord backpack, but I will get that eventually. And for the last piece, I choose to use the new holster called Centurion Scabbard, which gives you 20% rate of fire and 20% weapon damage on the first buff. The secondary buff is 50 mag size and 50% reload speed. We obviously going for the first one. So when you swap a weapon, you get either buff 1 or buff 2. And this works for 12 seconds. And there's no internal cooldown on this, right? The white hair means that you get the mag size. The black hair or no hair means you get the damage and RPM. And worth to note, with umbra, you don't want to sit in cover, because then you don't get the rate of fire from umbra, right? You have to be outside of cover. So because of that, we are gonna run the shield, which also helps us with keeping vigilance up, even though I'm currently 6 red. You can of course adjust this to your liking though, but this works pretty well. But when it comes to rifle, there is a lot of brand sets and gear sets. So if you don't want to bother with the exotic holster, you could definitely skip that one, and that would open up for other setups. Personally though, I think rate of fire is super fun, especially on a rifle, so that's why I decided to do that. But you could run something like this, a ninja bike version, which makes a lot of sense because that will make your shield even stronger, because ninja bike gives you one of each core attributes, right? So armor, giving you more base armor of course, and a skill tier. And this will buff the shield and put it on tier 2, which will just help you to keep the shield uptime. since with this build you don't want to sit in cover, right? Because then umbra doesn't work. You can run eagle grasp like I'm doing right here with the lvoa-c, or however you pronounce it. You get mag size rifle damage, so this is really good. And then weapon handling and critical hit chance. If you don't want to have the weapon handling, you can of course run a normal glove instead and go critical hit chance and critical hit damage. And then we also add in a breaking point for 25% rifle damage, which is just crazy. Obviously something like fox prayer would be really amazing for this, but you only get 10% rifle damage, and then you also give up one attribute here. Of course you get the 8% damage to target out of cover, but 25% rifle damage is just gonna be more damage. On top of that, the second attribute is not that good. Accuracy, it doesn't do that much, so I would not use fox prayer, but in case you can't get this setup going, you could of course run fox prayer. So those are the two different crit builds I would do. And when it comes to guns, especially if you're running umbra with the exotic holster, like ideally you want to have as high rate of fire as possible. The USC .45 ACP, the UMP rifle have 420 rate of fire, which also the ACR have. The difference between those two guns is that ACR have just way better accuracy, so I will definitely recommend the ACR, but you could also run something like an MDR. Honestly, you can run whatever rifle you prefer. The faster you shoot though, the better. When it comes to the gun talent, you want to have out of cover damage on the ACR. I have not expertised the gun or min-maxed it, as you can see. I've been trying to farm that, but it just doesn't drop. But get out of cover damage. And then talent wise, for this crit build, boomerang is just really good. Making the mag even bigger, because critical hits have a 50% chance to return the bullet to the mag. Making this already big mag 57 get even bigger, right? And on top of that, increased 40% damage for the next bullet. So really good. In terms of modding, ACR actually have a muzzle, a lot of the rifles don't. And I decided to put 40% stability. It's not often you see me play stability, but this one kicks quite a lot and I just don't want to use the mouse too much. I could definitely get comfortable without this though, but I think most people would appreciate this. It's like 40 stability or 10 critical hit damage or 5 critical hit chance. So I mean, if you want to go full damage, you can just go the crit. But I think going stability there is just good when you get so much out of it. Then I have crit hit chance and crit hit chance on both these, so getting 10% extra crit chance and then 20 round. I did play around a bit with accuracy and stability. If you want to get less recoil, you can do that. I mean, 30 stability and 30 accuracy is quite a lot, so you could definitely do that if you feel like it's kicking too much. But as you can see in the gameplay, I don't think it's kicking too much. For this build and the other build we're gonna go through soon, gonna run the gunner for both. I just think PvE wise, gunner is just the best way to go, mainly because 10% armor on kill, really nice. Also this 50% faster reload on every third reload, right? On top of that, 5% increased rate of fire for 5 seconds on a kill, which makes a lot of sense for this one, especially if you play the holster. The RPM just gets insane. We take a look here at the actual rate of fire with buff. So 2147 on the Ouroboros, 662 on the ACR, which is just crazy for being a rifle. When it comes to the skills, I prefer to use Revive Hive just to get a second life. And then as well with this one, I think Shield is just really good to help out keeping Vigilance upright, and especially if you're running the Ninja Bike version. But that is the crit rifle Umbra build. But we're quickly gonna go through another version here, which is Aces. So 3 pieces Aces, we got Breaking Point again and Eagle Grasp with Ninja Bike. So pretty similar to the last Umbra with the Ninja Bike, right? So 15% rifle damage on the Aces and 30% headshot damage. And then 4-piece, you basically flip cards, you hit headshots, you get more cards, and this will give you amp damage on the next bullet, 30% being the standard. We are using the chest piece though, and that puts it from 30 to 50% amplified damage, which is just crazy. And then Ninja Bike, we got Eagle Grasp, should be headshot damage there, and then Breaking Point with 25 rifle damage. So this one is headshot focused build, so everything headshot now. We don't really care about crit. I have tried this with lvoa, and then it would not be boomerang, it would be rifleman. And the best weapon for that would be artist tool, which is a SIG version. It gives you 1 more stack and 1% more. Like normal rifleman is 10% weapon damage for 5 seconds with the 5 max stacks. Perfect one is 11 and 6 max stacks, right? So that will give you additional of 16% more weapon damage. So if you like going for headshots, this build is definitely really good. It is a bit harder to play though, because you gotta aim for the head. But as you can see on this gun, like it's not much recoil and the accuracy is pretty good too. And you can of course sit and cover with this one. It's really nice, except when you're going against tanks or helmets, right? And this one, in terms of skills, I would just run a shield, right? So a Crusader shield and then Revive Hive. And if you want to use the holster, you could run it something like this. If you don't want to run Ninja Bike, you go back and get the Overlord backpack with vigilance, headshot damage, and then you can equip the holster. Personally though, I would not run it this way. Or you can just use 2 Svadovska with Eagle Grasp. Like this, headshot damage here, of course. You get the Svadovska backpack with the vigilance. And then aces here. And run something like this, then you get the mag size and rifle damage. Like there's a lot of options when it comes to this build, but personally I would prefer the first Ninja Bike. Just trying to show you guys that if you don't have everything, it's pretty easy to set up something that will work. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the rifles now being auto. I think it's just amazing and super refreshing, except they're extremely loud. But please let me know in the comment section below what you think about these builds, and also what you want to see next. I do have a lot of things in mind, but it's also always good to hear what you guys want to see. With that said though, I will see you guys on my stream at twitch.tv/widdz or in the next YouTube video.